those who don't know, what is emotional intelligence? Take us through a little bit about it.
Oh my goodness, it is the ability to be able to use, manage, understand your emotions in a healthy manner.
There I was, an upcoming HR professional. I was flying high, scoring. I was even deemed the best HR of the year.
Guys, I'm so happy to be here. We addressed some hard things.
Good morning! Good morning to you. Wherever you are in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. What a morning. Today is, I like to always give the date. It's important so we can know where we are. Today is February 5. Today is February 5th. So, 2025. I pray whatever you needed to get done in 2025 January, that it's done. Because the month, the years, the days, the time is a-going. It's going whether we are ready for it or not. So I pray that you are right up to speed. We're going through Q1, just blazing through. And with everything else that's happening in the world, because there's stuff happening in the world, you know, from politics to the news, to life, to people that you know, to and on top of that, life is happening with your loved ones and friends and those near and far, you know, companies that you used to work for. Like, there's so much happening, and you have to be able to pivot, change, be flexible with all of it. Stuff is happening at your kid's school. Stuff is happening around you, whether you want to pay attention to it or not, whether you care about it or not. You're like, oh, that doesn't affect me. Everything that happens to, and I'm going to say this, right? Everything that happens to the people around you affects you one way or another. Here's why I say this. Let's say something happens to a neighbor next door, next to you, has nothing to do with you. They're just a neighbor. You know, and in some cases, depending on where you live, they may be even strangers to you, right? You don't even know their name, depending on how long you've been there and all that stuff, right? So something happens to a neighbor next door next to you. That neighbor ended up in the hospital, and unfortunately stuff happened and they didn't make it. And now next thing you see, a few months later, they moved. You're like, so what, Dr. Dale? What does that have to do with me? Well, what has to do with you is that they moved from next door. This is just an example, just a little minor example. They moved next door from you. Now somebody else is going to move in. You don't know who's going to move in. Right? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who these people are. You got to know those other people pretty well, because you saw there's kids going to school same time as your kids. You go to work the same time, and then you saw that they had like a grandmother, so you have a mother as well and grandmother as well, so you kind of got to know their faces and got used to seeing them. But now somebody else moves in, and that person ain't necessarily family friendly. that affects you. Because if they're not family friendly and doing activities that are not family friendly, what happens? You're probably going to consider moving, right? Everything affects us in one way, shape, or form. So I say that. I don't know why I say that, but I say that. Maybe that's for someone today. Maybe that's for someone needed to hear that. Someone needed to hear it. And I'm here for it. I'm here for the spirit. God's spirit, of course. So with that being said, it's important for you to look around you, see what's happening, take it in. I know it's a lot, right? Take it in, be observant. There are things happening. And so once you're observant, you move accordingly. Because if you see things going in one direction, that's a trend. We talked about trends on here. If you see something going in one direction, you watch it for a little bit and see if it's going to continue going in that direction. Then you got to pivot, right? You got to pivot. You got to change. You got to move. You got to act. You got to remove. You got to do some things. And that's just not with life. That's with in life. There's something that is very constant that you cannot do without and I cannot do without. And that is relationships. Relationships. And when I say relationships, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about relationships that are at the core of your life and my life. You know, your past relationships, your current relationships, your future relationships, all of it, right? From your kids to your parents, to your grandmother, to your friends, to your work, to your church, to your group that you go to on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, to that board that you're on. All of those relationships, they affect you. So my word for you this morning is you're watching what's going on around you and you have to pivot and move. The same thing you have to do for your relationships that are in your life. You have to see how these relationships are adding to your life or taking away. And if they're taking away, you know what we talk about on here. We gotta be in healthy relationships. We gotta be in healthy relationships. We cannot be out here just going about whatever happens and let her do you up and then let him do whatever he wants to do to you and let your kids talk and not have any manners any kind of way. Like we're not out here for that. Let your boss yell and scream at you and curse you out. Remember we left those things in 2024? I laugh because it is so real. It is so real. It's not even funny. And it's funny at the same time because we ain't got time for any of that. Okay? So with that being said, let me finally, now that I finished my 9-minute rant for this morning about what's on my soul that somebody needed, let's get into the conversation about talking about your goals. So we started this last week and we had a guest that we had on here. So now we're going to kind of get into the conversation. Now that we already talked about your life, we talked about relationships for a good 8 minutes, and now we're going to get a little bit deeper into your goals. And your goals don't have to always be work related or business related, which they should be, because if you're not working a 9-to-5 or have your own business or part of a charity or doing something which I don't know what you're out here doing. I really don't know. You need a purpose. You need a purpose. Okay? You need a purpose. Figure out what your purpose is. And we already talked about here. We talked on here like some steps. We brought many guests on here. It's time for us to move from the talking about it to being about it. Being about it. And what does being about it mean? Let me fix my camera here. What does being about it mean? It means walking the talking. We had a guest on here last week. I think it was Dr. Kendra, if I'm not mistaken, with my brains and everything going on. Uh, she talked about how to walking the talk, right? And putting actions behind your words. That's my fist, you guys, for those that are not watching live, because, podcasts and everything. You got, you pack it with some action. Pack what you're doing with action. What you're saying, my bad, what you're saying with actions. It's important that you do that. Okay? Otherwise, it's just talk. It's just talk. Okay? And we're not about just talking just because. We're about doing it. We're about doing it. So that's why this series of goals, I talk about how your goal is only 6 inches away. This is the part 2 of this series. We already talked about part 1. You guys are going to have to go listen to part 1. This is part 2. Okay, we're going to continue because it's 10. And today we're going to cover the last 5. So with that being said, your goals are only 6 inches away. And I say that because what if it's not about you working harder? What if it's not about you trying harder, listening hard? What if it's not about you just making more money? What if the answer is only 6 inches away, meaning from one ear to the other? What do I mean by that? Let's go a little bit deeper. What if your goal is 6 inches away from one ear to the other? How focused are you? How focused are you? What I mean by let's go a little bit deeper than that. Focus in terms of there's so much distraction going on in this world. And I'm not even going to talk about the phones at all, right? I'm not even going to talk about social media, but they are not distracting you. You are allowing them to distract you. And you have to decide, at what point are you going to pay attention, change, and we talk about pivoting and be flexible and looking at the trend. If you see that you're spending, 9 hours on this, that's more than half of your day, being eaten away, that you ain't gonna get back. You ain't gonna get back, y'all. You ain't gonna get that back. That time is gone. And I talked about in the beginning of this conversation, time, because time is precious. Time is precious. What are you doing with the time that your God has given you? You have to do something with the time that God has given you. And if what he has given you, what you are doing with it is just, I don't know, nothing, then Dr. Dale is going to say, like I always say, if it's working for you, if you like it, I love it for you. If you like it, I love it. But you got to pay attention, because if it's not serving you, then it's definitely hurting you. Okay? So, the first point that we're going to cover today is the real distance between knowing and believing in yourself. You know it, right? This is number 6, you guys. You know it, but many people know what they need to do. You know what you need to do. You don't need me to tell you. You don't need nobody to tell you what to do. You are a grown adult in this space, a grown adult. So whether that's starting a business or pursuing a degree or a certification or a goal or get out of that relationship or get into that relationship, you need to stretch yourself. And you got to move away from the talking about it. We talked about that just now. Talking about it to being about it. Are you a woman? Are you a man of your word? Are you a man or woman of your word? Or are you just talking? What are you doing? I was at a training, a meeting not last week. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. The HREBC, we had our induction. I am on the board. So I've been on the board since last year, and we did a new board members. And the training, the conversation, we had a speaker there, and he was talking about civility. What do you mean by that? What is that? Being civil. That's how important civility is. Being civilized. Civilized meaning being kind, being nice, actually saying please, actually saying thank you, actually going out of the way to maybe open a door for someone, actually asking for forgiveness, actually knowing that maybe you don't have it all figured out and giving that person grace, not chopping down their neck because you are right. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. That's not what it's about. What are we doing out here? Right? Are we creating? Because again, remember, people are going to remember how you treat them. How you treat them. And I always say this on here, and I'm gonna say this again because it's worth repeating. And this is why my husband even sometimes get mad at me. He's like, are you gonna do that too for them? Are you gonna do this too for them? And I'll be like, yes, I am. Because I am who I am. So I always say that I try my best to, when I'm out in the streets, in the world, going to the grocery store or driving in South Florida ain't easy. If anybody been here and driven here knows that you have to drive like very defensively, right? I try to, if you want to pass, sir, go on. If you want to jump in front of me, go on. Just I would like some notice so that way I can like give you enough space and you're not like just jumping in front of me. I don't get mad. I used to a long time ago. I used to get mad a long time ago in traffic and stop and what's wrong with you? All this stuff. I don't do that anymore. Because I value my life. For the simple fact, it may be, and because a close family member of mine got into an accident. They got into an accident. I saw that they felt like they were right. Yeah. And that person, she was right. She was making a left-hand turn. Another car was coming. And that car that was coming, they didn't stop. And she didn't stop. Accident. She was right because the light, the light green, and then the light was green for her to turn left, and they just kept going because both of them thought they were right, or both of them thought the other one was going to stop. You think about that for a little bit, because you feel like you're loud and right without even considering that you may be loud and wrong. Or even if you are right, I want to live. I don't want to get into an accident and then deal with all of that insurance crap that comes along with it. If they have insurance. So I make that point to say you got to be intentional with your actions. And this first bullet point that we're talking about is the real distance. You got to believe that you can. And you got to be civil about it, right? You're like, I'm going to get mine. What does get mine mean? I'm going to just climb the ladder and step on as much head as I want to. You're going to just you're gonna slap that. I'm picturing it in my mind, right? You're gonna slap your way to the top. You're gonna like screw people over. You're gonna push people. You're gonna lie. You're gonna cheat. You're gonna make sure that you get steal credit from people and their work. Like, seriously? And I was talking about this training that we were at last week with HRABC, and this guy, Alan Bernstein, talking about being civil. Like, don't like my mom likes to quote Medea, I'm gonna get them before they get me. If that's your logic, then there's gonna be a lot of people dead and then a lot of people gonna be loud and wrong. So you tell me what that looked like for you. Hi, Miss G. I'm like you. My car is paid for, and I want to get to my destination. Go ahead, exactly. It's not worth it. Right? So you gotta think about all this. You may be right, because we are in such a rush to be right. Okay, so you're right, and then what? What do we get? Are we gonna get a candy from this? Are we gonna get something out of it? Because boy, look at here. I'm not doing that. Go on, sir. And I like to I made that point to say that I like to be civil wherever I go, because I have my mom, and sometimes I'm not always with her. Like, she goes to doctor's appointments, and she goes to sometimes she goes to the grocery store with her friends and stuff, and I'm not there with her. And if she happened to, I don't know, forget her purse, drop her bag, something, I would love someone to stop and say, hey, ma'am, you dropped this. That's what goes around comes around, right? Because if I'm not there with my mom 24/7, and she's out with her friend, or she's out at grocery or whatever she's doing, and I'm not there, that's, karma, right? Let's just start with that. Karma. I would like somebody, another human being that is civil, to say, hey, ma'am, you drop your purse, you drop your wallet, here you go. Because what I give and what I put out into this world, I'm gonna get back. You're gonna get it back. I'm sorry to tell you, whether you agree with that or you don't, and you want to be one of the ones that are out here screwing people over, you can do that. That's all fine and dandy. But I'm not, that's not me. And I don't want to put that out there, right? Which is why I said, when I go out into these streets, into this world, I try to be as kind and, not a fool. There's a difference. Please know that there's a difference. There's a difference. Not a fool, just out here letting people do whatever they want to you. No, I'm saying just having boundaries and just saying please, saying thank you, opening the door for someone, actually saying, hey, there's difference between what you say to me to, can you please repeat that? I'm not sure I understood. Or what I'm hearing is, like, your tone, your approach, and this is all at the bedrock of emotional intelligence. This is what emotional intelligence say. Being smart with your emotions. Are you going to allow the event that's happening in front of you right now to spiral? Are you going to allow it to get you out of character? And if you do allow it, think about the repercussions. The repercussions are endless. And I talk about this book on here all the time, The Body Keeps Score. Read it. It tells you how you imagine going through life, you're in traffic. You might imagine going through your 40 years or 50 years or 60 years, whatever amount of time you are here on this earth. Imagine going through life every day, day after day in traffic like this. That's what that intensity and that pressure you're putting on your body. I say this on here all the time, and you guys, you think I'm out here playing in these streets, but I'm not. that intensity and that pressure that you're putting your body through, it has to go somewhere, and that's energy, because that's what emotions are, right? In Greek, the word emotions is emotere, and that is energy in motion. So that energy, that emotion that you're feeling, whether you're angry or frustrated, for whatever, in traffic, that has to go somewhere. Where are you going to send it? Where are you going to send it? Right? And so what happens is it gets trapped inside of you. And then you find out years later, you have that disease, you have that sickness, you have that, cardiovascular heart disease. You have, it's not saying that's the sole reason, but that is what adds to it. Your body keeps the score. Your body is remembering what you put it through. It's remembering what you put it through. This is science. This is data. It's back. I'm not here making this stuff up. Go do your research, you guys. I can't do it all for you. This is a real thing. And thousands of scientists, did this research, and they put people through this, right? And they put people through all of these tests. And this is what I did. This is what I did with my research when I studied emotional intelligence, and I looked at all these different things. So let me give you guys a quick, and I said this on here probably, I don't know, over a year ago. Let me say it on here for a record for 2025. For 2025, let me say it on here. Hi, Ms. G says, I said this yesterday. People should get paid extra for commuting work. It's another job, and it does a doozy on the whole body. It sure enough does. And who got time? Do you have time to be laying out in the hospital? Do you have time to be sitting in the doctor's office all day trying to figure out what's going on with you? If you don't have time for it today and invest in your emotions, in healthier emotions, healthier, being smarter with your emotions, then let me tell you, in a couple years from now, whatever is as it relates to your body and the sickness, you're gonna have time then, and then you can't get over that what's done is done. It's what's done is done. So there's a research, right, in that book. Gosh, I can never remember the man's name that wrote that book because it's such a long name. So in the Body Keeps Score, they did a research on kids, right? And the kids, they did two sets of kids that went through trauma, right? Trauma meaning rape, incest. They saw their parents killed. They witnessed, they were hurt. They were abused themselves, like all of that. Whatever you can think, the worst thing about a child, that's what they got, those set of kids. And then they got the set of kids that had a healthier upbringing, right? And these two sets of groups, they asked them, so they follow these kids from when they were little to when they're adults, in their 30s and 40s. And then they looked at their life. They looked at their decisions. They looked at the jobs they had. They looked at everything. And they followed them, and they had them going to like therapy. And they gave these kids, I think, from year 5, from this happened to them when they were 3 or 4 years old, to year 5, they showed both of these groups a picture. And it was a picture of a dad under the hoodie of the car, I guess, fixing it, right? Under the hoodie of the car. And then they asked group A, I said this group before. So it asked group A, the kids that been through all the trauma, that had things done to them, that were hurt, that were lied to, that were pushed, that were like all of these things that these kids took into themselves, right? And they asked them, hey, what do you see? What do you think those kids said? What do you think those kids said? Oh, what do you think they said? And then they asked the same the same question to the group of kids that grew up with a healthy family, with a mom and dad, with family, brothers and sisters that loved and cared for them, that supported them, that was there for them, that walked them through, took them to school and, had breakfast on the table every day. And how did your day go? And smiled with them and hugged them and told them, I love you. Like those kids, that's a healthy home. It's a healthy home. If you're doing that to your kids, thank you. Thank you. So they had both of these groups of people. What do you see on this picture? What do you think? The ones that were in a healthy home, they said, oh, dad is fixing the car. It's Sunday. We are going to get ice cream. Mom is getting her purse. Dad had to fix one last thing on the car. And so we're getting ready to go ride in it and go and get ice cream on Sunday. That's the gist of it, right? And then this other group that went through trauma, that went through so much in a short period of time during their life, from year 3 to year 5, with seeing all of what their parents put them through, to the being abused by a family member, by being lied to, being pushed, being raped, being all kinds of things that a kid should never be exposed to, ever. That those kids said something to the effect of, oh my goodness, to that picture, dad is under the car. That car is gonna drop down. It's gonna drop down, and it's gonna split his brain in two, and mom is gonna come out, and she's gonna see it, and she's gonna be crying, and she's gonna run out into the street, and a car is gonna hit her, and then it's just gonna be a terrible day. Those kids went on and on and on, and you guys have to read the book. It's so good. It went on and on and on with how terrible things were going to get, all because of the difference on how they grew up, on how supportive and loving their environment was. So this is what I'm saying. This is how important it is. I cannot say this enough. How important it is for you to have a home for kids, healthy home, because those kids grow up and those kids become adults, and those adults have relationships, and those relationships that they are in, it ends up being who they are in life if they don't change it. Or that guy becomes abusive, he don't know what he don't know. And I'm not in the business of a blame game. No, I'm saying to be aware on how you are bringing up your kids and how you're treating them, because if they don't get a handle on if they don't get a handle on their trauma and their lived experience and their experiences, and this is just a child at home that didn't grow up in a good family, right? Imagine your trauma from work. Any negative experience that you are having in this world today is affecting you, which is why I started this conversation with that. Everything is affecting you. So you have to be very emotionally intelligent to control what you can control, which is nothing else but yourself, So that's why I'm saying you have to open your eyes just a little bit, right? So I'm not saying blame your parents, because now that you're an adult, you can't, there's no blaming no more. You're an adult, so you need to get yourself some help. You need to talk to someone. You need to go do exercise. You need to do something to get all of that energy out of you, of negative energy. Some people are, that emotion comes out in negative ways for different people, depending on what you're doing. Some people are alcoholics. Some people going to drugs. Some people decide that they're going to hit their wife, and that's how they're going to get out their frustration. Some people decide that they're going to smack their husband or wife or whatever, right? And I mentioned in my book, in my book, Emotions in You, I talk a little bit about that, and how when in the beginning of my marriage, I was like starting to mimic what I saw as a child around me in my marriage. And I pushed. I just pushed. And I pushed my husband one time, and I that kind of freaked me out. And I'm sure there are people out here doing worse than that, but that freaked me out because that's not me. And it scared me when I saw it. So I had to change. And I did that quick fast because I love him and I don't want to hurt him. And my mom always said, you shouldn't be putting your hand on people's kids. That stayed in my head. But here I am pushing someone, and not in a good way, not in a joking way. So I said all of that to say it's important for you to understand your goals don't have to just be business wise and job wise and what you're going to do to get this bag and this money. It has to do with you, with leveling yourself up, with growing yourself, right? And it starts with you, because everything that you do in your business, you are the brand, you are the CEO. So you got to make sure that you're showing up in that way. No, we're not going to have it all figured out. No, we're not going to get it right all the time. We're not supposed to. The mistakes, the errors, the misunderstandings, that's a part of the growing process. So befriend them. Befriend them. And I know I said a lot, and we probably even got off course a little bit, but for some strange reason, I felt like I needed to talk about that. And it's important for you to be confident in understanding that we are, because we're human beings, we are directed and moved, because remember, emotions are energy, emotion. We are moved by emotions. You get up in the morning, whatever your routine is, how you feel is going to decide how you move. If you're not in the best of moods, everybody around you is gonna know it. Everybody around you is gonna know it. right Miss G. That's how different. That's insane. A huge difference, because it's important for you. The experiences that you have in life is directing how you are living. Whether you agree with that statement or not, it doesn't matter. It's a fact, because your subconscious remembers. You don't have to remember any of that stuff. What happened to me as a child, you don't have to remember it. You consciously, if you understand what I'm saying, you consciously don't have to remember it. Your subconscious, which feeds into your body actions, remembers it. Like I mean, I'll give you guys an example. You're just going through your day and you're like, and I think I did this like 2 days ago. I was in a grocery store somewhere, or last night I went to the grocery store with my mom, and I said, you smell that perfume? That reminds me of such and such. Have you guys ever did that? I've done that quite a bit. You smell a perfume, you see someone that reminds you of someone, that reminds you of something, that reminds you of an experience, that your conscious brain, meaning your brain, how to explain conscious brain to you? Your conscious brain, meaning what you know right now. There's stuff about you or about yours that you don't remember. The stuff you don't remember, your subconscious remembers it. It remembers it, right? That's where your amygdala is, where it holds all your experiences and everything, right? So it remembers it. So it's saying, I don't know, that cup. I like that cup. That cup reminds me of such and such. I feel like I know him, but I don't remember. If you've had those recollection, like a deja vu or something that you felt like you've done before, or you remember but you can't really put your finger on it, or somebody's face, that's your subconscious. That's your subconscious is saying, there's something about this event, this experience, this person that's reminding you of something that you did, something that that was so And this is what I learned later on. Like when I was going through emotional intelligence and how and assessing my own life, I realized your brain, what you remember, what you choose to remember or not remember, your brain is protecting you because it's saying, no, 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 you don't want to remember. You don't want to remember that event where somebody broke into your house and how you felt, how unsafe you felt. You don't remember that. So let's just fog the brain around, let's fog the memory around that event for her because that didn't make her feel good and she wasn't safe. She didn't feel safe. So let's just put that in the back front. And that's your brain trying to protect you, right? Protect you from something uncomfortable. This is so fascinating. That's what I'm talking about this. And to kind of give you like the psyche behind what you are doing or not doing. So everything that you choose to do or choose not to do, there's a reason behind it. And and that reason, that why you choose to do or not to do it, it's important that you get familiar with it. Because then, oh, let me give you another example, because this, I know a lot of people resonate with this quite a bit. Let's say you've been going to your 9 to 5 job for years and years, and you're just driving, and this one day you're going to work, and or you after work you're going home, and you have so much going on at work, and there's so much to do and so much activities, and you're so busy, and in no time you're home. Have you ever done that where you remember, man, how did I even get home? Your subconscious remember the way. It's been doing it for years. Your subconscious say, your conscious brain is so distracted right now with whatever happened in the day or whatever you have to do, that I'm going to take over and I'm going to get us home. Your subconscious is the one that's running more than 90% of your life. It is a beautiful thing. Do the research on it, you guys, and see that I'm not just talking out my butt here. It's a beautiful thing. You are being run by your subconscious. So I say, I need to know what my subconscious know. I need to dig it up because I don't like surprises. I don't like bad surprises, negative surprises. I want to know what's going on inside of me. And that curiosity of wanting to know has led me down a path of really figuring out a lot of things. And even though I don't get it right all the time, I know, right? I really know what's going on and that I want to do better, right? They say, don't get bitter, get better. Don't get bitter in the relationships that you have. Don't get bitter in, in somebody wanted to do something or not do something. Just get better. Get better at, let me just let them be. Let me respect their boundaries. Maybe I just need to chill. Kind of turn that mirror on yourself and see if there's something else that maybe you could have, that maybe you, because you can control you. We always talk about that. You can't control anybody else. So stop trying. Stop trying to be in the streets controlling everybody else. Stop doing it, because it ain't gonna go well for you. You're gonna lose every time, and you're gonna end up being frustrated and vexed. And that frustration we talk about, remember that is just, you're just stressing yourself out and bringing unnecessary illness to yourself. And we ain't got time for that, right? Because we got kids to take care of, we got businesses to grow, and we got a life to impact. We got so many lives to impact. So we need to be about it. So overcoming your fears, that's important. We talked about that. So why fear of failure and perfection holds us back? That is the antidote. We need to push through it and do it anyway. So whatever it is as it relates to your goals, finally getting back on subject here, stick to befriend the mistakes and befriend fear and push through it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do what you're going to do as it relates to your goals, personally and or professionally. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. You're scared, do it anyway. You're not sure what's going to happen, do it anyway. You are uneasy because you don't know what the outcome is going to be, do it anyway. Whatever you say, the answer is do it anyway. Just do it strategically. Do calculated, smart goals. Measure it, right? Be specific, right? Time it. Make sure you have the budget for it. And don't do it all at once because you can't. Do a step at a time. And by the time you look, it's going to be done. It's going to be done. So the other conversation is the role of accountability in closing that gap, right? Remember we talked about you got to be about it. You have to have the right support system around you. You have to have the right support system. What is yours? You think if you're in this world today and you are running your life with that sentence of, I don't need anybody, I'm good, I'm all right, I got me. Yeah, you can run that way. You can be that way. I know a lot of people like that. But you know what happens at the end of the day? Those same people wind up needing the most help. Maybe not all the time, but when it counts, when they really need it, they ain't got nobody. So you can get through your goals if you have the right people around you to support you and help you. The people that I have around me, my sisters, my husband, my mom, my brothers, that's the right support system in a healthy way, right? And you're closer to some people than you are with others, and that's okay, right? Because it's all about your psychological safety, not theirs. Everybody have to figure out what their safety looks like. What does your safety, what does your support system look like? You need that around you. Please look into it, right? Having the right people in your corner pushes you past your limits. I cannot tell you guys how many times I wanted to disagree or have my husband be so wrong about so many things. He's right for the most part, right? But he's been right, and I didn't want him to be right. He said some things because he's I guess earlier on in our relationship, I told him, I want to be better, so help me be better, and point out the stuff to me. And he ain't got, now we're 14, 15 years in, he ain't got no problem mentioning this stuff, right? And sometimes he tries to hold back to try to see how I'm going to respond and see if I'm going to figure it out. But 9 times out of 10, now I'm getting feedback, whether I want it or not, right? That's the kind of people you want around. You don't want a bunch of yes people, because yes people don't push you out of your comfort zone. You don't want a bunch of people around you. It says the right people in your corner pushes you past your limits and holds you to your highest standard. Highest standard. So what are your standards for 2025? Right? What are your standards? Studies show that accountability increases goal achievements by 65%. 65%. You're going to complete your goals if you have the right support system. They're most likely to be successful if you have the right people around you. So get the right people around you. Remember, in the beginning of this conversation, I said, you got to be looking at what's going on with the people around you. You've got to be able to look around with the world that's around you, the relationships, and who's pouring into you and who is not pouring into you. And then you're going to have to make very hard decisions, my friend. You're going to have to start setting boundary lines, and you're going to have to start saying no, and you're going to have to start walking away, right? And moving those people outside of your inner circle because they have too much access to you. And you're just giving away your energy when you could have that focused mindset on your goals, right? Very importante. And then celebrate your small wins or big wins. Celebrate them. Why not? Why not celebrate them? Because again, time is of the essence. Time is precious. And I said in the beginning of this conversation, what are you doing with your time? What are you allowing yourself to be distracted with? Most people wait until the big goal is achieved before they feel proud. I was talking to my friend Sophie a couple months ago, and she had some really big wins as it relates to her business. And I was like, "What are you doing to celebrate this?" Because I'm always about I have to be having fun with whatever I'm doing, so that way I can keep going. That's just me. She's like, "No, I'll wait until I get this, and then I'll celebrate everything." And I was like, "What happens if you don't make it to that big goal?" She's like, "Good point." I was like, "Celebrate, girl, celebrate." And celebration don't have to be a big celebration or party. It could be, I'm gonna take myself on a date. I'm gonna buy myself my favorite ice cream. I'm gonna whatever it is that celebrate, whatever makes you, moves and moves your boat, whatever that is, right? But celebrate it, because what happens is that if you don't celebrate the journey, you'll never truly appreciate the destination. Celebrate it along the way, not when you get there, not when you get at the goal. Start celebrating now, right? Put in the work, time yourself, baby steps, accomplish those small goals one step at a time, and then halfway through or quarter way through, start celebrating, right? Maybe celebration is, I'm actually going to go chill with my friends this weekend and go to dinner, whatever it is. I said I wasn't going to go, but you're right, Dr. Dale. I actually did some stuff, and I want to celebrate this goal that I just did, whatever that is. A book you just published, you actually had a really good relationship or conversation with someone, and you got a new client, you got approved for that project at work, you got that bonus. Celebrate, because you put in that work. Celebrate. Celebrate that new job. Celebrate. I'm all about it. So the other one is growth happens in doing, not the waiting. And we talk about that. We talk about that so much. We can't stop waiting for the right time. The right time, if I tell you, you guys know, you're talking about the right time when the right time is when you decide the right time is. Yes, Miss G, celebrate all the milestones, right? Yes, all of them. Because think about it. If you wait, what is the right time? Well, maybe when money is right, Dr. Dale. When is money right? You're going to have to intentionally set money aside for the right time to happen, right? I guess you're right. I have to kind of make some sacrifice and maybe not, maybe not go on that trip that I know I don't need to go on right now, this minute. Don't kill the messenger, you guys. I'm just out here making sure that you guys are achieving your goals. Waiting doesn't create the growth. Taking action does. Didn't I say pack it with some action? That's what you got to do. You got to pack this stuff with some action. You can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. Be about it. So be about it. Okay? Be about it. It's important. It's important. It requires you. Too many people wait for the perfect moment of money, the perfect moment of opportunity, the perfect plan. You are the one that creates all of this. And my niece Nicole gave me this picture frame thingy that says create the life you want. And for years that baffled me. For years, I ain't gonna tell you, until I got to my chief of human resources position, head of HR. I had it on my desk and I looked at it and I finally understood. Right, I know. I be slow sometimes, you guys. I know. I be slow sometimes. And it baffled me. So when I first read it, it just wasn't, it wasn't getting, but I had to focus and I had to have some experiences, right? And then I got it. I have to create that plan. I have to create that life I want. I have to actually put the money aside for it to happen. Like, it's not going to happen out of the blue. You're going to have to make some sacrifices, my friend. Anything worth having, anything worth doing, it requires you to put the time in, right? If you care enough about it and you want to do it, put the time in. Because by the time you're ready and you're done, you won't regret it. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be a beautiful thing. I'm telling you. I was on I'd be on trainings and conversations and networking so much. And I love it. And this guy said he said, what did he say? He said, having a business. Oh, this guy, I'm on this other board for nursing homes, because, that's what my passion is, nursing homes and helping elderly and helping the elderly and making sure that they have what they need and their employees in healthcare. And this guy, he owns a bunch of ALF, assisted living facilities, right? Where old people that are injured, or rehab centers, and he has like 30 of them in North Florida. And he said, starting a business is not easy. It's not for the weak of heart. He said, but it is very rewarding and it's worth it. You won't regret it, especially if it's something that you care about. You have to figure out what it is that you care about. What it is that you care about. How do you want to leave this world? What in all my trainings that I do for organizations, I always talk about this, you being that drop in the bucket. That drop of ripple. What do you want your ripple to look like when you are no longer here on this earth? How are you what impact do you want to leave? Because that will decide where you go from here to here in terms of your goals. Nothing changes until you move. Nothing changes until you move. Baby boy, baby girl, nothing changes. I know. There ain't no quick fix to this. If somebody's telling you quick fixes out there, you better run for the hills. You better run for the hills, because it ain't true. You're gonna have to roll up your sleeves and you're gonna have to put in the work. And the work is rewarding if you care enough about it. See, I cared about my emotional intelligence and how my decisions and or interactions with the people around me and the relationship, I cared about their experience of me. So much so that I wanted to do something about it. So every day, intentionally, I'm constantly aware of how I feel. I make sure I'm around and doing things, and I have things around me that puts me in the right mood and keep me in the right mood. Because if I'm not in the right mood, 9 times out of 10, my mom and my husband can probably tell you, it's not going to be a good day. Because they happen, right? It happens. Where sometimes I just can't control it, because that human side of me comes into play, right? And that's you're not trying to achieve perfection. What you're trying to achieve is consistency. Does that make sense? You got to be consistent, intentional, every single day. And even my friend Kenton can tell you. But I have support system. They see past my mistakes. You need people around you that see past your mistakes, that don't see those mistakes, and the first thing they want to do is remind you of who you think you are and put you down. That's not the kind of energy you want around you. You don't need that. That doesn't help you. Yes, you made a mistake. Own up to it. Oh, you got to own up to it. Yeah. We're not putting things under the rug. We're trying to move things from under the rug. We're trying to move things from under the rug, right? You need to own up to your mistake. Yes, 100%. And they'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you, yeah, I had that figured out. Yeah. But I'm comfortable and I feel safe enough that I can say that with them because they have created the space for me to say that. If you feel like you can't say when you are wrong in that relationship, then you need to assess why you feel that way. There go that subconscious stuff we talked about. Why you feel like you need to act the way that you're acting. Is it necessary? Is it right? Right? Is it civil? Right? Because at the end of the day, you are the boss of you. That's the only thing you can control. Once you start working on you and working towards your goals, things will fall into place. But you got to be willing and curious enough to do the work and figure out what's next and how to do this and how to move there. Okay? So that's the conversation that I have for you guys today. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to. We can eat that elephant one piece. I'm gonna get an actual plastic elephant. And I'm gonna come on here and start actually eating that, not eating it, but biting it so that you guys see that that's an actual vision that came into my mind right now. So I gotta get it. I gotta do it. So yeah, that's the conversation I had for you guys today. Usually my conversation about 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe even, but when I'm, when I don't have a guest. But today it was, why am I eating elephant? She's a metaphor. I'm sure there are cultures out there that are eating elephant. It's a metaphor. Just eat the elephant one piece at a time. I love that. We're not eating elephants, you guys. Don't eat the elephant. We need the elephants. I on one of my goal lists is to be. I need to ride an elephant. So please don't eat all the elephant. Whoever's out there eating them. Oh my goodness, the stuff. See, if you guys didn't come in here, you wouldn't gonna hear this joke that Miss G made. Ask me why am I eating elephants? Why am I eating elephants? No, you guys, not eating elephants for sure. So thank you for stopping it today. Oh, thank you for stopping it today. Today again, today was Wednesday. I'll see you guys next week. We're gonna talk about what are we talking about next week? Oh, we're in Black History Month. So I'm talking about all of these different actresses and authority figures that have emotional intelligence, and that maybe if you love them, then maybe maybe you should start listening to what they're actually saying. Right? Yes, Mr. Thank you for the laugh. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the conversation. And I'll see you guys next week, because this entire month of February, we're going to be talking about that, right? How, Black leaders are, empowered and embody emotional intelligence, and how you can do the same. And we have specific examples for all of them, from President Obama, all the way to Lisa Nichols, all the way to Viola Davis. We have great actresses and authority figures for you guys. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Ms. G. We're going to be talking for March, because we got some stuff coming up in March as well. So bye, you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Later.